The last update I did on Project Creampuff was trying to get the digital dash installed, and then I had some wires get a little crispy. So I was able to get another wiring harness from a buddy of mine to replace the crispy one, get a matching front lighting harness with an under dash harness. Both of them are SR5, both of them are kooky, so I was able to get everything matching and working properly. So let's take a look at that real quick so you can see the digital dash without the smoke. All right, here's the moment of truth. The new wiring harness is in. We've got the cluster connected. What happens when we turn the key on? Yay! Everything powers up and we've got no smoke. I've also pretty much assembled the entire interior at this point, so now it's just a matter of, let's install the sound system and then we'll hook up a battery and see, see if we did everything correctly. In the last 10 or so years, I've owned 4 different AE86s and none of them had a working stereo. With Project Creampuff, I wanted to change that. So I got some stuff. I really wanted a nice modern sound in this old vintage car. So I went with a Kenwood, a DMX 958XR for the head unit. Now this head unit has wireless Android Auto, wireless Apple CarPlay. Everything is really nice to connect. It also has a capacitive touchscreen instead of a resistive. What that means is the touchscreen is swipeable just like your cell phone. Now for speakers, I went with Focal. I went with the Universal ICU series. So these are a coaxial speaker. Both of them have a little tweeter in them. The tweeter has a switch to switch from flat to high, and they fit in the stock location. So we got a 4-inch up front, and we got the, I think 5 1/4 in the rear. Since mine had literally no wiring or anything in it, I went with some 14 gauge wire, which was probably overkill. But I decided that I wanted to have it nice and set up so in case I wanted to switch to a much higher end sound system later, I could. I also didn't have any brackets to be able to bolt the stereo in. The nice thing about the way that the stereo works in the AE86, at least bolting in something like a double DIN head unit, is you can just use the stock brackets, which are still available from Toyota. We've got 86211-12170 and 86212-12150. That's going to be the left and right brackets. Now the whole idea with this specific sound system is that I want it to be like an OEM Plus. So the Focal speakers are a really nice high quality speaker that aren't overbearing. They're not some crazy super loud bass heavy or anything like that. Although I do recognize that having 2 small speakers, a 4-inch and a 5 1/4, probably might need a little bit of oomph later, so I might add something like an under-seat subwoofer or something to be tucked out of the way to add a little more bass to even out the sound. Now the head unit, I slept on that for a long time to decide what I wanted, and really what I wanted was something that had the capacitive touchscreen. So a lot of these head units are older or were built during a different technology time, and so they use what's called a resistive touchscreen, which means that it detects by you pressing harder on it to know that you've touched it, which means you can't swipe with it, you can't do pinch to zoom or anything like that, and I wanted to be able to do that with this car. So I spent a little bit more money, I waited till they came in stock to get something nice, a little bit higher end, probably more money than I needed to spend on it, but it should be pretty much the only head unit I need for the foreseeable future. It also has a USB-C port, which was surprisingly hard to find. Other things too is that you can connect 4 different cameras to it. You can use Kenwood's dash camera with it, backup camera, side view cameras, all kinds of nice stuff. So really this is probably more than I'll ever need for this car. It also has a decently built-in amp, so I don't need to add an external amplifier for the speakers, unless I really wanted to have a louder, clearer sound, but I think this should be pretty good. All right, let's go ahead and get to installing these on the car. To remove the speaker, it's actually pretty straightforward. All you need is a screwdriver. On the driver's side, you've got one little screw down here at the bottom that holds the grill on. Remove the cover, that gives you access to the speaker. Now the speaker itself is going to have a couple of retaining screws around it. This has obviously been in and out a couple of times, everything's pretty loose. So we're just going to go ahead and pull the screws out of each corner to be able to get this speaker pulled out. If you look at the old speaker compared to the new speaker, you can see a pretty significant size in the magnet. So yeah, I would say these are probably going to be an upgrade. I also got these plug and play adapter things. These are like a universal Toyota kind of a connector. this is just something that they send them with, and these are, you know, pretty generic connectors you can plug in. The stock wiring is this, which doesn't really match up. And I ran all new wire anyway because I wanted some thicker, heavier duty wire. So we're just gonna plug these into the speaker and then we'll drop it in. Now I've got this speaker mounted. We can go ahead and put our cover back over it. And you really wouldn't know if that isn't stock. Passenger side would be pretty much the same. For removing the grill cover, you've got one screw down at the bottom. So once you undo the one on the bottom, there's one more up the top. Open your glove box, and it's right in this corner right here. Ta-da! Now for this side, I don't have a speaker in it, and that'll make things a little bit easier for the install. Now the rears are way easy because everything comes apart and you pull like the speaker mounting stuff out and work on it like on the bench. So first thing is you pop the speaker grill off. This gives you access to this bit. Somebody has used some non-OEM hardware in here. So we're gonna swap this back to stock style hardware once I get it all apart. I've already done the other side, so I knew what I was expecting. And because the rears are so easy, I'm just gonna show you how to do the one. There's 4 bolts, 1, 2, 3, 4 in here at the top. Like I said, this was non-OEM hardware kind of stuff, so there were like plastic screw clips, and then the others are 2 10mm. Get that all out, and it should drop right out. There we go. Now I've got this whole mounting system out. This is for the speaker. And this has some old Sony Explode speakers in it, but we're gonna still swap these out for the focal ICUs. And because I'm a heathen, I'm just gonna use the hood of the car as my workbench. You've just got these 4 screws that hold the speaker in. One on each corner, just like pretty much any other speaker mounting system. Then you pop the speaker out. This is such a neat setup to me. I really like this because you've got just these brackets that hold this big plastic piece in, and everything sits in this. Inside of this drum, we've got this little retainer down in here. That's gonna be for the wiring. So just make sure when you orient your speaker so that the wiring can run right through there and then around to the outside.
Also, those metal brackets are directional. The tall one goes to the front, the short one goes to the back. I put them in backwards here. I caught it later and didn't film it, but essentially they need to be that way so it points the speaker forward so it sends sound forward, and also so the speaker actually fits. Otherwise you get some interference problems with getting the speaker to bolt in.
Now that we've got the speakers in the car, let's go ahead and take a look at the head unit a little closer before we put it in the car. A lot of times when you buy a head unit, you can also get these plug-and-play adapters for the stock radio system. They didn't have a totally wired plug-and-play, but they did have a couple of these guys to be able to adapt it to the Corolla wiring harness, except every single one of my dash harness is actually missing these connectors. So that's cool and all, but not useful for me. Inside the box, we've got a GPS antenna. So even though this is a non-navigation head unit, because it is Android Auto, they do have these GPS antennas, which help increase the accuracy of the Android Auto or Apple CarPlay navigation. We've got our wiring harness, which I've already kind of gone and taped up some of the stuff. All of these I won't be using right now. Those are all things like the cameras and the speed sensor and antenna power and amplifier power. So those are all things that I'm not going to be using. We've got this, which is our park switch. That way we can do screen mirroring and videos when it thinks it's in park. We've got our power, ground, and ignition power. Then on this side, we've got all of our speaker wires. Here's the USB-C extension cable microphone, and screws, a USB-C to USB adapter, and the bracket for the faceplate for the radio to make it look real nice. We have our installation instructions. We've got our keys for removal for certain vehicles, but that's not how we remove it for this car. Now in here we have the actual radio touchscreen. One of the things that I really like about this is that it's pretty shallow. A lot of the ones I've looked at are pretty deep. This one is really shallow, making it easier to install. Now what we're gonna have to do to actually install this in the vehicle is use our Toyota brackets to bolt it onto the sides to be able to bolt this into the car. This is gonna bolt onto this side, and then I'm gonna bolt onto the other side. Now we're on to actually using the brackets to mount them onto the radio to put it in the car. If you look closely at the brackets, hope you can see that. It says L, so this is the left one. So we know this is for the left side of the radio. We want this at the front. It looks like there's two mounting hole locations, either this one, which puts it a little further back, or this one, which puts it a little further forward out of the dash. And I think that's what I want to do. Inside of the car, this is all the wiring that I should need right here. So we've got the gray wire, this is gonna be our ignition power. The blue with yellow tracer is gonna be our 12 volt. The white with the black tracer is gonna be our ground. And then one of the green wires is going to be our illumination. So that'll dim the radio when you turn the key or when you turn the lights on. So those four wires there, those are all I need from the stock wiring. All the other stuff is speakers and stuff I don't need. I've tied the parking brake switch and the ground wire into the same wire, so that way it's always grounded, so it always thinks it's in park, so I can have video. Now, a lot of people are probably gonna think I'm crazy for doing it this way, but I would rather solder these connections over crimping them, and that's because I don't have a good crimper, and this is gonna be a better connection. I've been doing this for years. I've never had any problems with soldering, but I have had issues with crimps. So the key with soldering is also using a shrink wrap that's also got weather protection stuff in it, so glue. So we're gonna leave that there. Now we're gonna grab the next one. We're gonna do ignition wire, which is the gray one. Gray goes to red. That's our ignition signal. All right, everything's wired up here. All of our speaker wires ran. Let's go ahead and plug it in and see if this is gonna work. Okay. This is our USB cable, so we're gonna route that around and to the back. The nice thing about this is we've got such easy access that if we want to change the position, we can. Now that we've got it all bolted in, we can unscrew from both sides, move the radio around, and re-screw it back in. But I think this is gonna be like the perfect fit. Come on. Oh, there we go. Oh, dude, check that out. No trimming or adding anything. That fits just perfect. All right. Moment of truth. Power's on. Let's plug in a phone. Wow, we've got Android Auto connectivity, and let's see. All right, I don't want to get hit with a copyright, whatever, but it works. So now we've got the digital dash all working and sound system working. So I still need to figure out the wireless Android Auto connectivity. My phone isn't liking to connect for whatever reason right now, but I know my phone is capable of it because
I have other cars with Android Auto wireless that should work with. So don't know why it's not. I have to be wired here, but it does work. For the Android Auto and Apple CarPlay to make navigation more reliable, even though this is a non-nav head unit, it does come with a GPS satellite antenna. And I think what I want to do, because I want it to be pretty factory looking, is I'm going to put it right up here behind the rear view mirror, and then I'm going to route the cables through this trim, through the A-pillar trim, and then down through the dash and over. I think, yeah, that's what I'm going to do. All right, we flashed ahead to all the interior install. I figured you didn't need to see me put every piece of plastic back in. But I still kind of figure out my microphone mounting. But honestly, this is, I gotta pat myself on the back. I did a pretty dang good job with this. You can't really tell that it is an aftermarket thing, or like this doesn't really look aftermarket. I got it tied in pretty good, hidden there with the mirror. Head unit looks pretty solid. Yeah, I'm really happy with this. Okay, let's wrap this up. Let's do a sound test. But to be able to do that, I've got to hook up my jumper cable so I can have battery power, because I don't have a battery in this thing yet. But we're just gonna go ahead and steal battery power from Big Blue over here. We're all hooked up now. Let's go key on and see if it works. Okay, we got that powered on. Everything looks like it's powering on. Yeah, I also installed my Bridge Moto steering wheel, so that's all bolted in place. Oh, I gotta redo the settings again because I disconnected the battery. So let's see. Did it remember my phone? Oh, it does remember my phone, which is what I'm using to film right now. So let's go ahead and plug the phone in and listen to some music. There we go. It remembered all my settings, even with the battery disconnected. Let's go pop the trunk. Now, obviously, I still have some stuff to do for the car because I didn't tuck the wiring back up, and there's a lot of things I kind of left a little messy, but that's because I'm anticipating I have to get back into it for more wiring shenanigans. So don't judge me too harshly on that. However, I am super happy with this, and the sound system sounds freaking fantastic. Now I should probably focus on actually getting it like moving and running and drivable. Yeah, so I guess more on that later. If you enjoy content like this, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, share, all that stuff. Thanks.